Well, hello. Happy, what day of the week is it? Wednesday. Yes, I should know it's Wednesday. Wednesday is a very special day to me. So, hello, it's great to see you. Please say hello when you're here. If you're new, I'm Heidi, and what I do is I'm a relationship empowerment coach, and what that means is that it's my absolute pleasure and purpose and passion in life to help you to overcome your relationship issues and challenges at the root, at the core, to help you root down in your power, find and speak your truth, and really stop settling ultimately, so that you can have the relationships that you deserve. And so please say hello when you're here. If you're watching later, which I know a lot of you do, if you're on YouTube where this will be posted later, or in the Flow Tribe, just say hello and let us know that you were here and share your perspective on this live, because we're going to talk about something that I wasn't prepared to talk about, actually. I was going to talk about something totally different. And I posted on my Flow Tribe and said, hey, what would you like me to talk about today? And just being curious. And one of the people in that group asked to talk about isolation and loneliness, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, of course we want to talk about isolation and loneliness right now, because a lot of us are feeling that way. And so I want you to be sharing your perspective with me as well. What makes you feel isolated or lonely, and how do we get out of that? What are some of the ways that you're moving around, trying to overcome that? And how are you doing? I have a unique perspective. I really wanted to think about it. I spent about 30 minutes, sat down and was like, okay, let me think about isolation and loneliness so that I can really do you justice today on Wisdom Wednesday, and give you kind of this perspective. And I do believe it's going to be a good perspective for you, because I broke it down. Like, I break down everything, right? Everything's like a system in my mind. So, first, like, question I asked myself, and I want to ask you, is what is isolation? I mean, so we can think about, is isolation the same as loneliness? All right. And what's the difference if it's not? And so when I thought about this, there are two types of isolation. There's external isolation, and a lot of us have felt that way with being kind of confined to your homes, and a lot of you don't have anybody else in your space at all. It is just you, and so that's isolation. However, external isolation doesn't always result in loneliness, does it? Right? Because you could be all alone, all by yourself, and not feel necessarily lonely. Then there's another kind of isolation, and that's the isolation we want to talk about today, and that's the isolation of internal isolation, external and internal. And internal isolation is where you feel all alone or you feel lonely, and you could be in a room full of people. Who has ever felt that way before? Raise your little hand emoji, or do whatever you want to do to let me know. Have you ever felt alone in a room full of people? Have you ever felt the loneliest you've ever felt, laying right next to somebody that was supposed to be your partner? So we don't necessarily have to be alone to feel all alone. And I thought, all right, well, okay, great. So now we've distinguished between isolation and loneliness. And then I thought, I want to talk about it from this loneliness perspective today. So if we talk about internal isolation from that perspective, what's the opposite of that? Right? What do you guys think? What's the opposite of that? Obviously, it's connection, right? If we're connected, we don't feel isolated. And, coming from the background that I come from, I work in the area of relationships and self-esteem and empowerment. And I taught for 8 years at a drug and alcohol treatment center. I taught self-esteem, healthy relationships, adult children of alcoholics classes, all these different kinds of things. And what I learned about connection is, when we don't feel connected to people, even in a room full of people, hey, Erica, in a room full of people, and we don't know how to bond properly to the people around us, and we feel lonely even in a room full of people, we will scramble to do whatever we can to feel connected in any way, shape, or form. And actually, addiction, I found out, is a lame attempt at connection. It's a lame attempt at trying to feel connected to something, bonded to something. And we end up bonding to substances instead of people. And I know this has been an issue in isolation for a lot of people that don't feel connected. And so they've been bonding to other things. They've been bonding to Amazon. They've been bonding to packages coming to their door. They've been forming connections with their Amazon delivery people. They've been bonding to more alcohol. The alcohol sales have increased exponentially. People have been bonding to Oreos, right? Trying to find a way when you feel lonely, you want to fill it up somehow. And if we don't rectify how to really connect in meaningful, authentic, and fulfilling ways, we'll try to fill up that void of loneliness by any means necessary. We'll put on the Corn 10, the Corn 20. Okay, we'll drink ourselves stupid. We'll disconnect even more than we ever have. And so I want to help you resolve that today. And this is such a great topic. I just want to thank the loves who said they would love to hear about this today, because it wasn't even on my radar. Like I said, I had something else prepared for you today, but as soon as my friend in the Flow Tribe mentioned this topic, I was like, skirt, all right, that's what we're talking about today. So I know you're going to find it useful too. If it's on her mind, it's probably on yours too. So let's talk about what makes you feel connected. What do you think makes you feel connected to people? Can you write that in the comments if you have an idea of what makes you feel bonded and connected and not lonely? I've come up with 3 things that I think really, and they're not the end all be all, but it's just, hey, in my preparation, here's what I came up with. The ways we feel connected to other people, or from my perspective, is when we do 3 things. Okay, we feel seen by other people, we feel heard by other people, and we feel loved by other people. But what happens when we take away the other people? When you're in a situation where let's just take being seen, for example. What would prevent you from being seen, really seen by the people in your lives, so that you don't feel all alone or disconnected? Meaningful conversation, Taralee said. Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you. Hi, it's good to see you. Meaningful connection, meaningful conversation. So, okay, we're going to go on to the being heard part as well. We can put that in. I fill the lonely space with food and then isolate because I'm ashamed of the space that I take up, and then I eat to fill the loneliness, and the cycle continues. Oh my gosh, Katie, so good to see you here. Absolutely. We compound the issue when we have that void and we try to fill up. And you know, Janine Roth, who is one of my favorite teachers of all time on compulsive eating and binge eating disorder, has this saying that, you know, why are there never enough Oreos? Because you can never have enough of what you don't really want. And the Oreos are a lame attempt to fulfill that much, much deeper need that we have within us. And part of the recovery process for this is asking ourselves, what am I really hungry for? What am I starved for? I have to tell you, most of us are sexually anorexic, emotionally anorexic, psychologically anorexic, spiritually anorexic, and we're filling up on the things to try to fill that anorexic void, right? With alcohol, with Oreos, with shopping, with bags, you know, with the things. And so how do we feel fulfilled from the inside? How do we really feel fulfilled? Well, we have these meaningful, authentic connections. And what prevents us from being seen is we are hiding. I mean, it's really that simple, isn't it? What prevents us from being seen is that we're hiding. And what are we hiding? Well, for a lot of us, we're hiding who we really are. And I don't blame us, because there's so many of us that don't even know who the hell we really are. There's a lot of us that are used to being chameleons, right? Being whoever kind of we need to be in order to feel connected to people. We scramble, we settle for kind of a parody of connection than a real authentic connection. And a parody of connection is like, I'm just showing a Stepford wife, you know, I'm being whoever you need me to be. And so if I don't feel seen, it's because I'm not being, I'm not showing myself. I know for me, I felt for a long time in my life that nobody knew who I really was. Do you ever feel that way? Nobody really knows the real you. And I think underneath all of that is because we're not even in touch with the real us, because we've been practiced. We have a black belt in perfectionism, a black belt in people pleasing, a black belt in pretending that everything is fine when it's not fine. So the first thing about being seen is to stop hiding. What parts of you have you been hiding from yourself? What parts of you, how would you show up differently in the world if you were willing to be seen? For me, part of being seen by you is not being perfect. right? Because I had something else prepared. If you know me, you know that I like to prepare a good lesson. Okay, I like to prepare, but I'd rather be with you and give you what you need and have this authentic relationship with you, even if I don't know exactly what I'm going to say, even if I haven't really prepared the way that I wanted to. I'm willing to come connect with you, even when it's not perfect, right? I'm willing to be with you even when I don't have all of my ducks in a row or whatever. Our worth is what prevents us. Our lack of self-worth is what prevents us from being able to be seen without feeling like we need to be polished first. Right? We need to be perfect first before we come out into the world and expose ourselves, right? I can't be seen in my pain. That's what we feel, right? I only want you to see the pretty parts of me, right? And so then everybody doesn't really know you because they see one side of you, right? Sometimes we feel like we're living a double life, right? Nobody really knows who we are. I struggle with health issues and isolate because I feel like an inconvenience, Erica said. Exactly. It's like that part of me isn't attractive, right? I don't want people to see the real me, but we feel isolated and disconnected and lonely when people don't know what's really going on with us because there's a refusal to be vulnerable on our part, and that's what really inspires connection. Perfectionism and being perfect before we show up and only presenting one way and making sure everybody sees this side of us and we hide the other stuff of us that's not as attractive or not as wonderful, we actually alienate people. Because I tell you, after a while, people get sick of that shit. Don't they? Don't you? When you see somebody all the time, it's like, life is great. Life is beautiful. Oh my God, I'm just so happy. I have no problems. You're like, something smells like bullshit up in here, right? I mean, you know that I swear sometimes, so muffs if there's kids around, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't buy that. Do you buy that? When you see other people and they pretend like their life is perfect, you're like, I mean, you have a bullshit detector the size of Texas, right? Why can't we use it on ourselves? Why can't we call it on ourselves and be like, okay, what am I not showing? So the first step in feeling connected is being brave enough to be you. It's being brave enough to raise your hand, speak out, share. And you guys are sharing in here too right now. This is wonderful, right? This is a really good first step to that. It's like being able to go, hey, the jig is up. I'm struggling. There are so many people that I work with in my programs and my coaching that have this desire, like there's a prize for sucking it up. Suck it up, buttercup, put your big girl pants on, and they only want to see people see them as strong because there's been a payoff for that for so long. Like, just witness me in my strength and then you'll love me, because that's what's underneath it all, right? Just love me, and if I'm strong enough, brave enough, perfect enough, you will. But you won't love me if I'm sick or sad or don't feel good or if I'm not saying the right thing. Man, right? And then we feel like nobody really does love us or knows us. You understand? Does that make sense? The second thing is not feeling heard. And you could be with somebody having a full-on conversation. Tara Lee said meaningful conversation. Meaningful conversation is the result of speaking your truth. It's the result of coming from a place deep inside that surpasses any kind of desire to say the right thing or people please, again, right? Boils down to. So sometimes, though, we don't even know we're not feeling heard because we're not in touch with our own truth. We don't feel heard because our own truth is hidden from ourselves. We're not speaking what we really think, what we really believe, what we really feel. And we don't feel heard, but we're not listening. We're not listening. We don't feel heard because we're not listening. There are many times in my life where I haven't had anybody else to listen, right? I felt all alone or felt totally isolated, right? And I wasn't even listening to myself, and that's what a good journal is for, right? Let's get to that. I mean, honestly, in the morning, it's like if you can't admit your problems to anybody else, or you can't admit you're sad or you're depressed or you're resentful to anybody else, can you admit it to yourself? Can you hear yourself talk? Are you brave enough to listen to yourself and share with yourself what's happening and finding and speaking your truth, So are you brave enough to be seen? This is a conversation about courage today when you feel lonely. How do you overcome loneliness? You have the courage to be seen. You have the courage to be heard. Some of us are resentful we're not being heard, but we're telling to people who are deaf. and have no desire to learn your particular sign language, have no desire to learn your particular soul's communication. You're in relationships with narcissists who you give two shits what you say. All right, some of us are. So we're telling the wrong people how we feel and expecting them to hear us. And so we have to recognize that, who am I telling my stuff to? Where am I expecting to be heard? Right? Starts with us. Okay. And then the last thing is feeling loved, right? We feel connected when we feel loved. What makes you feel loved? Tell me. Erica says, I'm always asking my husband for reassurance. Erica, yes, and the thing is that there's two challenges with that. The first thing is, why do you want it? What is it that you think you're going to hear, and where did you learn in your life that it's not okay to trust your own gut and your own intuition? A lot of us that grew up in environments, we talked about this on Monday a little bit in the live, that when we can't feel our feelings, when somebody's been like gaslighting you your whole life, and it's like, you were on that live, Erica, so I know you can relate to this, right? I'll give you something to cry about kind of conversation, right? When you're not allowed to feel your own feelings, you do need to do that for a while. Like, it feels like, to go, am I crazy? Is it okay for me to be feeling this way? Is it okay for me to think this? Do you think this is the right choice for me? But I want to encourage you, Erica, and everybody listening today and later, that you'll never get the confidence that way from this outside reassurance. Number one, it's fickle and fleeting. People give you their approval today, take it away tomorrow. Okay. But number two, self-confidence and self-assuredness comes from actually taking the leap, believing your own stuff, okay, walking the talk and going and falling down and making mistakes and going, oh, okay, well, that wasn't right. That just being brave enough to actually experience the consequence. Okay, if you do make a mistake, and learn from it and go on. But preventing mistakes is perfectionism. Wanting assurance is perfectionism. It's a lame attempt to control the outcome and look good. You know what I mean? Okay. And life isn't about looking good. Life is about living, making mistakes, being fully present, being along for the ride, the ups and downs. My husband always says, like, if you read a book and you're like, chapter 1, wow, everything is great and amazing. Chapter 2, life couldn't be better. Chapter 3, I'm totally digging this one. You'd be like, how boring is this life, and put it down. Every person you admire in your life, every situation, every good story that you love, every movie that moves you to tears or makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck, I guarantee you, I'm going to look back, it's got a hero's journey. It's got a massive amount of failure. It's got, oh my God, are they going to get up? Oh my God, they shouldn't have done that. Holy cow, what's going to happen next? And that's our lives. And that's what makes us so resilient. That's what makes us have the grit, the determination to keep going. That's what makes our lives so beautiful, are those failures. And sometimes the more epic the failure, the more epic the success, right? At the other side of that. Okay. So the last thing is, we're not lonely when we're seen, even when we're seeing ourselves. We're not lonely when we're heard and we're hearing ourselves. Okay. And we're not lonely when we feel loved. But this is the rub. Man, if we're looking for that outside of ourselves, it's fickle and fleeting. People are going to love you today, hate you tomorrow. They're going to be your biggest fan today, turn on you next week. I mean, that's the nature of humans, okay? Even in your own relationships, people go through winters where they're hot for you in a summer and cold for you in a winter, okay? They got the hots for you then, but it's frigid now, all right? That's how life is, right? So how do you stay consistent in love? How do you stay consistent in your, well, first of all, what makes you love? What makes you feel loved? What makes you feel loved? All right. Erica said, thanks so much. I feel so lucky to have you helping me. I've always looked up to you. I love you, honey. And I am pleased to be able to be here with you. Okay. And everybody that comes to these videos, and I get your messages and I read every single one, and I get your comments and I read every single one, and I read this stuff. I get your emails, I read them, and I appreciate them, and I thank you for them, because that's why I do this. All right. So what makes you feel loved? Well, for me and a lot of people I work with, it's when we feel respected. It's when we feel cared for. It's when we feel heard. It's when we feel seen. It's when we feel valued, right? It's all these things. But then we're like, okay, well then the solution is love myself. Okay, if I can't rely on everybody else to love me, I'll love myself. And I know that because I've got a program called Love Yourself First Empowerment School. Okay, actually, we have commencement tonight, and it's been so special. I can't believe it's already been like 3 months. These women go through this program, and we're all commencing tonight, giving our and tonight we're giving the women are giving, they're going to marry themselves tonight at the end of this. We're going to have ceremonies, and they're all going to give their vows they've written to themselves. It's going to be so cool. I'm so excited. We're all going to go around and stand up and give a toast at the wedding and things like that. And so most people think like loving yourself, yeah, if you want to be, don't be lonely, love yourself. We say dumb things like, go get your nails done, go get a manicure, okay? Go get a massage, and that's how you know you love yourself. Go work out. That's how you know you love yourself. And that really ain't it. From my perspective, it's learning how to speak your truth. It's learning how to set boundaries with people, right? And stop letting people run all over you. It's learning how to find what it is that is your truth so that you can speak it. It's learning how to value yourself when everybody else takes their love away. How do you feel about yourself when the phone doesn't ring? How do you feel about yourself when they cancel on you? How do you feel about yourself when they want a refund? How do you feel about yourself whenever they want a divorce? How do you feel about yourself in spite of other people's perspective and opinions? That is your real authentic power. And that's knowing who you really are at your core. That's knowing who you really are at your core. Now, if I do that, okay, if I get in touch with my real, true, authentic self, meaning I'm seeing myself clearly, not the mask I put on for other people, not the dance I do to be perfect or do whatever, right? Being me, and I hear myself, and I speak my truth, at least even private to me, if I'm the only one that's listening, and I'm in touch with that real, authentic piece of me, do you know that is your higher self? You know that, right? That is your higher self. That is the God in you that expresses itself without permission. It just lives and breathes in you. And I'm going to ask you a question. If you're in touch with that part of you, your highest self, how can you ever feel lonely again? How can you? How can you ever feel lonely again if you're truly connected to you? Truly connected. Not to your ego, but to your real self. Kristen, hey, live. All right. Kristen, just by the way, if you happen to be in South Florida and you're watching these videos, and many of you are local, hey, great. Why don't you do yourself a favor and take a Zumba class with her? First of all, you just look at her and you feel inspired because she's one of those. She's one of those sometimes, like one of those. And it makes you want to go, yeah, I'm going to do this. Yeah, we're doing it, right? She's so good. She's best. All right, take a class. So hopefully that's been helpful for you today, guys. I love you very much. Just a quick get on and share with you. Keep your comments coming. I'm going to go back and listen. This will be posted in Flow Tribe. By the way, Life School, Love Yourself First Empowerment School, so that you know, starts September 2nd, the new round. If you've ever been curious about some of these things, deepening your understanding of them, learning how to be seen and heard and valued and respected and living your fullest potential in life and being unleashed. That's what we're talking about, right? Just untethered, okay? And being all of you and detaching from what anybody else thinks about all that and doing you no matter what, okay? And being your happiest self, then send me a message and let's talk about getting you enrolled in Life School. And it's a small class. There's not a lot of space, so you want to act quickly. If that's something that interests you and you've been thinking about it, some of you guys come to me, and I kid you not, I have 3 people in my last class that have watched videos for 2 years before they signed up for Life School. And I know some of you guys have been wanting to be with me for like 8 years. I know. When's it going to be time for you to go deeper? Sounds like now's a good time. Okay? All right. I love you guys. I hope you have a great day. And I'll see you on Friday when I come back again on live and we're going to talk about, I don't know what. We'll see. All right? Love you. Bye.